it's your girl Jay, and welcome to the first episode of AOTV. So today I have some questions that maybe some of y'all have been dying to ask. So the first question I think some of you guys might have, I certainly have it. How do you pronounce your name?
So the way that you pronounce my name is a Hebrew name. It's Zabbai, not Zabbai.
It's not Zabumafu?
It's not Zabibi.
Zababa?
Or Zabbai.
So pronounce it with me. Zabbai. Oh, I don't think you guys got it. Let's do it together. Zabbai. Alright, so the second question is, so who inspires you musically?
Who inspires me musically? Well, first of all, a lot of my inspiration comes from my Abba, and what he does is he pours out his heart onto my heart, and the things that he speaks to me about is normally what I'll write about, or it's something that I'll see, whether it be on the news or whether it be with my friends, see things that they're going through, things that I'm going through spiritually, certain seasons I'm going to, and that's a lot of where my inspiration comes from.
Oh. Third question. So how did you start off rapping, and especially into like the Christian genre?
Bet. So I got saved when I was 17 years old. But what happened when I got saved is I was actually already rapping at the time, right? And what happened was I had this encounter with the Lord, and so I was like raised in church, so like I knew everything about like the faith, but I ran away from it. And then I had an encounter with the Lord, collided with him, and then what happened was I just surrendered everything to him. So what happened in that surrender, the last thing that the Lord asked me for, he asked me for my ability to rap, and I told him that I wasn't going to give it to him because I'm the one that fine-tuned it, put the effort in, put the time in for it.
Yeah.
And he said, but I gave you the brain to make music. And so I really had no response to that. And so I said, you know what? I gave it to him. So what happened was 6 months later, he actually asked me to rap for him. And I had no idea of what Christian rap was. I was about 17, 18 at the time. I was like, what the heck is a Christian rap? And I Googled it, and the first artist I saw was this dude named Lecrae. But of course, everybody knows Lecrae now.
Right.
But me, I'm sitting there like, never heard this in my life. And from there, it was pretty much like, I rapped what I was going through in my spiritual walk. So in the beginning, it was like, I thought I had to preach the gospel because it was the right thing to do, because people needed to get saved, and that was the bottom line.
Yeah.
But as I began to dive into my relationship, I recognized there was a deeper, intimate part of God's heart that I had never seen before, because all I saw was laws in the beginning. And so I began to change the way I rapped, not based upon a you need to do this, but based upon a here's what I've experienced and here's what you were able to experience too. So from there, it just projected into not really caring about what people thought about my music, because it was my one-on-one relationship with God.
Right.
So like, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody, there's always going to be people on the outside talking.
Always.
So it was like, am I going to listen to what they're saying on the outside to determine how I do my music, or am I going to be influenced by my relationship that I'm currently in?
Wow.
So
That's really good. Alright, so the fourth question, what is even a worship rapper? Like, does that even exist? Like, I've never heard of that. I'm pretty sure you guys probably have never heard of that. So like, can you explain to us what it means to be a worship rapper?
So right, so you know, when I started doing Christian hip hop in 2010, I think it got to around like 2012, 2013, there began this like debate of like, are you a Christian rapper or are you a rapper that's Christian? And
yeah,
it sparked this whole thing, and so I'm like a newbie on the outside looking in, like, is it really that important? Because the whole purpose of what we do is to bring people to Jesus.
Right.
So whether you have the title or you don't have the title, what is your mission statement opposed to the naming of the mission statement? You know, and so I saw that, and I was kind of in the middle for a little bit, but I wasn't really focused on it, because then I would have been sidetracked. And so again, like, a lot of my music just stemmed from my intimate relationship with God. And so one day I was at a performance, and this couple walked up to me, and like they had heard my music a lot, and they were like, yo, you know what, Zab? They're like, I don't think you do like rap. Like you don't just rap, cause you like invite us into your secret time with God. And then his wife was like, yeah, or girlfriend, excuse me. And she just goes, yeah, like, it's like worship. He was like, that's it, worship rap. And I was like, worship rap. But when I thought about it, you know, the word worship and obedience go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, I was like, I listen to worship music more than I listen to hip hop because that's just where my heart is. And so I was like, worship rap? That sounds pretty lit. Because the overall synopsis of it isn't about myself, but it's about others. Because it's inviting them into something that they have the ability to be invited into as well. So, kind of like the name right now, even though it doesn't define me. Because before I'm a worship rapper, I'm a worshiper. So.
But would you say that you would be, I guess like you would start that category up because I don't think that category exists for rappers right now.
I don't know. I mean, if it becomes a wave, I mean, we just got more worshipers.
Right.
So.
Because I wouldn't say what Lecrae does is worship rap or Andy or the others.
Unless it's their style of worship.
That's a good point. So the last question is, what does AO mean? Like, what does that stand for? What does it represent? What's AO?
So AO, right? Had this concept hit me. Growing up in church, I always saw people in the church esteemed if they were great at a position in church. So I always heard these words and these phrases like anointed.
Yeah.
And you would see them in the Bible like King David, who was anointed for a positioning, and people like King Saul and prophets and all of these people that were anointed for a specific purpose and a specific calling for the sake of the kingdom being brought to earth.
Right.
And so in church growing up, the only people I saw that were anointed were pastors, preachers, singers, or musicians. And I kept seeing this theme and I was like, all right, but what about, the people in the back that are good at fixing computers? You know?
So like you were saying, like the people on Wall Street, like this guy was trying to leave his job, but then the Lord told him.
So like, he was thinking about leaving his job on Wall Street, and what the Lord said to him is, if you leave and people here leave to go do ministry, to go, be a part of a church, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
But he said, but if you forsake it, then who are going to be in these buildings, on the top levels preaching the gospel to these people that need it?
Right.
That all they know is work. All they know is just routine. Go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work. And so what it dawned on me is, growing up, all I heard of people that were anointed were if you were a pastor, you were a preacher, you were a singer, or you were a good musician. And what I recognized was that the anointing means to be marked, right? And it's to be marked for a purpose, for a calling. But our initial purpose on earth is to first know who God is and to be in good relationship with Him. But then the second purpose and calling that we've been given is through Jesus, where He tells us to go out into the world, which is the Great Commission. So that's when it dawned on me that you don't have to just be anointed inside of a church positioning. Like in my song I say, maybe you're a lawyer, maybe you can be a quarterback. And God might have you there and you might have a specialty of doing something, but it's the area and field of people that you're around that God is calling you to set free and calling you to be an influence into. So that's my meaning for AO, and it's Anointed Ones lifestyle.
Alright, so we got a question from That's Saria, and she asked, so what is your vision for worship rap? Like, who is your target audience? Basically, like, what is your end goal for your music?
Well, I would say my direct target audience would definitely be my generation and the generations under me, under us, only because there's a concept I've heard of the Moses generation and the Joshua generation.
Yeah.
And the Moseses have the knowledge, they have the wisdom, and they have the resources. But the Joshuas have the might, they have the power, and they have the strength, right? And so when I learned that, I recognized that every generation needs each other for a purpose, right? And that's really where my heart is at, because you know, when I was 17, I didn't really have a lot of people that were my age that were as serious as I was. But I also didn't know too many people that were even a little bit older than me that were serious in what they did. So to have had people like that back then, I know would have really catapulted me into doing this hardcore. And so that's really like my target audience. And it's not really for people that believe. It is for people that believe, but it's also for people that don't believe, because I want you to experience this God that I serve, so that you can go and experience him yourself. There's a psalm or a proverb that says, taste and see that the Lord is good. And basically what that means is that God wants you to experience him. And so after you experience him, you're able to make a decision if you want to commit to him. Because he doesn't want you to do something and follow him out of fear or out of feeling like you have to. Because if he did want it like that, then he would have just made robots. But he wants people to choose, and he wants people to make decisions so that they follow him.
That's really good. So that is the end of our first episode of AOTV. All his links are down below if you want to check out more of Zabbai. All of it will be right. It's Zabbai, guys. Yeah, so all his links will be down below at Zabbai_ on Instagram, and on YouTube it's just Zabbai, I'm pretty sure.
Zabbai 203.
Zabbai 203. Stay tuned for the next episode of AOTV. Just keep sending in your questions, by the way, so you can also like leave comments or even just DM them on Instagram or even under this video. So yeah, we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.